Dirty Sports Podcast. I said, welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Lake Tahoe, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Good morning, Andy.
Morning.
Morning.
Your second home.
My second home. That's correct. Yeah. Got up here late last night. I think we pulled in around 11:30. And got up this morning, ordered some bagels online from Tahoe Bagel. Just ran up there, got myself a bacon, egg, and cheese on a cinnamon raisin. Coffee. Here I am, ready to go. Gonna play Edgewood at 10 a.m.
Pod and putt, huh? Little
Yeah, pod and putt.
pod and putt.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, do a little.
And I got my coffee this morning, and I kind of rushed through setup so I could get here on time. So I'll definitely have a shit in there. So it'll be a pod and poop and putt.
3 P's, the 3 killer P's.
Yeah.
Nothing better than a nice healthy dump.
No. And that's the thing, the morning here, skipping, like I was like, oh, get it in before Dirty Sports. But now that I've got like an hour, 45 minutes, it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more satisfying.
Yeah. I found like a little hack on my dumps lately.
Okay.
We got like, and I guess that's why people have a squatty potty. She's got a little step stool to wash her hands and to brush her teeth. And I put her little step stool. I put my feet up on that.
Squatty potties are unbelievable.
It's basically a squat. Yeah, like I should get a squatty potty.
Yeah, you should.
It just opens you up, right?
Yeah.
That was a hit for a minute.
Squatty potty. Can we get a sponsorship out here?
Yeah, also, but I also don't need. Well, I'm talking about getting. I have one. Her step stool. It works.
Right.
I don't need a squatty potty. I mean, I'll take the money. Y'all won't pay me.
I need a squatty potty because it feels weird for me. I had one when I lived in Venice on Oceanfront Walk. I had one, even though it was just like plastic and probably easy just to hit with like, some all-purpose cleaner. Like when I moved out, I was like, I'm not gonna take the squatty potty. I'll toss it.
What homeless dude ended up with that, and what's he doing with it?
Pretty sure it just went straight into the dumpster.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What homeless dude in Venice Beach went dumpster diving? He's like he's using that as his pillow.
He's just using that as his squatty potty. He's just shitting directly onto the street with it. He's like, do you know how hard it is to shit in the street? He's like, now I shit in the street like I won first prize. I'm on the podium.
Do they have a dumpster diver show on TLC? Like they need like a dumpster diver show.
They definitely need a dumpster diver show.
And I think season 1 would be Venice Beach.
Seasons 1 through 10.
Right? Like that's how it should. Yeah. I wonder like what would be a better location.
San Francisco? But Venice is really the ultimate homeless location if you're talking about the combination of a mass of homeless people and just like vibes. Like, yes, Skid Row is, a pretty legendary, but like, I think it was Iggy Pop who called Venice where the debris meets the sea. Like those homeless people are shitting with fucking waves crashing in the background.
That's true. That's nice. What do they call it?
I'm just thinking of the reality show drone shots,
Oh yeah.
Over the pier, over the skate park, over the boardwalk, and then zooming into under my former tattoo shop window, some guy levitating over a squatty potty, just dumping onto the street.
It'd be great, right?
And then he's like, today we're gonna see what's in the dumpster outside Gold's Gym. Maybe an extra protein bar or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. And again, it'd be on TLC, which I always think is hilarious.
Yeah.
How the Learning Channel turned into hoarders.
Yeah.
Or just whatever. Like my Siamese sister was Down syndrome. You're like, what?
Speaking of hoarders, I was hanging out with Brian the other day and we got to talking Keiko. And I was just like, it feels like a fantasy. I know we do this like every couple months on this show. I was just like, it feels like a fantasy how much shit we moved and how much money we made and how just the whole fucking.
It's funny you bring up Keiko. I thought of her the other day for some reason. Oh, I know why. Because I was doing that. I was moving around some stuff.
And you're like, remember when I used to get paid $275 an hour to move around some stuff? I was talking to Brian about my favorite part of that. My favorite part of that was her math. She would be like, all right, I'm giving you $75 an hour. And then you worked 10 hours today, but I take an hour off for lunch. And you're like, okay, you're paying me $75 an hour. So now I'm getting 9 hours at $75. She'd be like, I take an hour off for lunch. Here's $2,000. And you're like, what? What?
Oh, Keiko is the best, man. I got hooked in her. Remember, like I saw that money train and I was like, what else can you have me do?
Yeah.
My favorite one still, and I know we've talked about it at length. My favorite one still to this day was delivering the window AC unit.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude.
That one's because it wasn't even working at her Beverly Hills residence. It again, it never. I brought you. Remember, I was like, Prado, I got something for you. I was like, we got to go pick up an AC unit like that you put in the window from a dry cleaner in Beverly Hills, and then take it. I think it was at El Segundo. Take it down to El Segundo, and then drive back to West LA. And
it was like get it repaired or something like that, right? Or
we didn't have to install. We didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. And so we rented it. We had to rent the truck for it. And
did we?
Didn't we?
No, I think it fit. I think it fit in the little hatch.
Either way, she paid us like $75 an hour for like 4 hours of this.
She paid us. I remember. She paid us $275 each.
I was like, you, for half this money, you could have the exact same model, brand new, delivered to your front door from Home Depot
and installed, probably.
Yeah, and installed. She's like, yeah, but then what am I going to do with 2 air conditioners? I don't know. Put it with the fucking garage full of other shit that you bought 3 times.
I remember when she called me, I remember where I was for that job. I was downtown. I was with girl I was dating at the time, Grace. And I remember.
Wow, that was the Grace era.
It was the Grace era. I remember I was trying to explain. So, like the Keiko thing's funny, right? To like somebody who doesn't understand it. And
I mean, I tried to explain it to you, and then like the first day, you're like, bro.
I remember explaining it to her. We were downtown, and she's like, "Wait, I don't understand. This woman's gonna pay you $75 an hour to pick up something that she could just have delivered and then take it to her brother." I was like, "There's no way to understand this."
No.
I was like, also, maybe you might understand. She's your people. She's Asian, so
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, and I don't know why I'm picking it up from a dry. Why was it sent to the dry cleaner?
I mean, the first ever gig I did with her was taking all the stuff from her Venice place and moving it to her Beverly Hills place. But the stuff that didn't fit in the house had to go in the garage. So then all the stuff that didn't fit in the garage had to go to a storage unit in Orange County, which she rented just for that. I was like, hey, why don't you just rent a storage unit in Venice and put everything in there? And she was like, no, that's not going to work. And I was like, why not? Like, I'm saving you.
Yeah.
Instead of moving everything 3 times, I just move it once, and you know where it is.
If she was an athlete or a pro, like a pro team, who would she be?
That's a great question. That is a great question.
I think she'd be the Browns.
I feel like she can't. Here's the thing.
You know why?
Why?
Because they have no problem throwing money.
I was going to say she can't be a team. She has to be a baseball team because she can't be anything with a salary cap because she doesn't.
True.
She never
True.
capped anything. She's like a mid 2000s Mets team that's like spending way too much money to still be terrible.
I was gonna say I think she's the Browns because like she throws all this money at Deshaun Watson, she throws all this money at Myles Garrett, and you're still left with a team that's like so many question marks.
And she basically had as many residences or storage units as they have quarterbacks.
100%. And you and I are basically Myles Garrett. Like we don't really get it. And at times you get annoyed and you're like, I want to walk away from this, but then you're like, but the money's too good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not walking away from this. Because you know you were there. Like, both of us get there. Like, I was like, okay, I got to put up with her idiocy because she's paying you too much money.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, he wanted to go to a winner, demanded a trade, and they were like, do you? Checkbook's open. No, he stayed. Can I say something now that we're talking NFL real quick? Like,
that's the best Andy Ruther segue maybe of all time. You're like, and now that we're talking NFL, I have some thoughts.
Well, no, I just and we'll go back to the NFL. We're gonna obviously probably lead with the NBA here. I wanted to say something briefly about the schedule release, and we'll get to some of this stuff. Like guys, again, I know I say this a lot. Like I'm Mr. NFL guy, but like I just don't get it, man. I don't know if it's because I'm older. I don't get the hype, and I know every social media team for all 32 NFL teams do these fun releases and the creativity and all, and it's just like we're Randy Marsh blowing our load meme at schedule release, not the actual game. The schedule release.
I refuse. I was actually thinking this the other day, and I'm glad you brought it up. I refuse to let my brain register any of the dribbled out random game releases. When they final release it, but they'll be like, mid-November primetime game in Dublin, Steelers Vikings, and I'm like, nope, not using any of my brain power. Like everything in the week leading up to the schedule release that they like randomly dribbled out. Oh, this one's going to be released on Good Morning Football. This one's going to be released on the Today Show. Oh, Chef fucking Ramsey's going to release this one during a very special Hell's Kitchen NFL release. I'm like, nope, literally not letting any of those register. I will register the NFL schedule when the NFL schedule is released. And even the like you said, the social media teams, I don't need to see any of them. The only one that was interesting to me at all was the AI one.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna do a Pop-Tart themed release with all 17 opponents. Like, I again, like, cool, I guess. I don't know. My mind doesn't care. I just want to know, what are some fun games? What are some fun primetime games? When are these happening?
I don't even, honestly, for me, I looked at the Giants schedule, obviously. And
which,
I looked
by the way, everybody's like, it's brutal.
Yeah. And I looked at the week 1 schedule. That's it. I didn't look at the primetime schedule. I didn't look at the Monday night schedule. I didn't look at anything. I just looked at the Giants schedule and the week 1 schedule.
Well, I'm curious. I'll pull this up. I am curious about like primetime. Like here's the breakdown of primetime games by teams, which I definitely want to talk about Dallas. Kansas City leads the way with 7. Dallas gets 6. Miami, Atlanta, Detroit, Philly, Washington, Buffalo, Chargers, San Francisco get 5. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Houston, Denver, Green Bay, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Rams, Seattle get 4. Your Giants, Raiders, Patriots, and Bears get 3, and then so on after that. I do the Dallas fatigue is funny. Underneath this tweet that was posted for the prime times was people bitching about the Chiefs fatigue, and I'm like, dude, the Chiefs. I don't have Chiefs fatigue. You know what I have? I have Cowboys fatigue.
Yeah.
They get the second most prime. How many times we're going to say this? The whole America's team. And I could be wrong. I'd love to see the numbers. Do more people actually watch when the Cowboys are on versus some of these other teams? I would venture to say no at this point. It doesn't really matter in the NFL.
What's crazy is I think this is all still just Jerry Jones shit.
I think it is.
Because there's no way that, okay, let's just look at the Patriots, for example. The Patriots have 3 games. Dallas has twice as many. There's no way. I mean, it might be a larger fan base, but it's not significantly larger. The Dallas Cowboys fan base is not significantly larger than the New England Patriots. It's not.
That'd be an interesting one though, because the Patriots, the post Tom Brady era, I would wonder how many.
Yeah, but you still have it's all of New England.
Yeah, true, but Dallas goes across the country,
right?
The Cowboys fans. What I find interesting on something like this,
but
is
do
that,
they?
Like,
that's the thing. Do they? Like, are there still people who are like born and raised in North Carolina? Like, I've just always been a Cowboys fan, America's team. It's like,
well, considering we have such a high,
you'd have to be 40 years old.
Well, basically, if we have such a high Hispanic and in particular Mexican population, if you're Mexican, you either root for the Raiders or the Cowboys. so there's that. I don't know. What's interesting?
Not for long, Andy. Soon it'll be the Patriots that will be America's team. Not for long. We're getting mass deportations of who? Cowboys fans. Take that for what you will.
What's interesting to me is, like, again, just glancing at it.
Oh, you're a Raiders fan? Well, let me tell you a couple words that you're not going to understand, and I don't understand either. But no more habeas corpus for you. Oh, you're a Cowboys fan? No more habeas corpus Christi for you. You're out of here.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting that Miami and Atlanta, for example, you're giving them more primetime games than like a Baltimore.
Yeah.
Or a Green Bay or a Rams. I'm just like Atlanta. That's just an interesting one. And I don't know how that works. But at the end of the day, if you look at that sheet that I just had up, a lot of teams, like, they do spread it out. I'll give them credit. Like, they spread it out unless you just suck.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a chance. Were you traveling when that Denver OKC game was on last night?
I was in the car. I was trying to keep up on my phone, but as you can imagine, the fiance was like, "We're watching basketball on our phone in the car now."
Wow, I mean, they had a nice explosion there in the second half. I'll tell you what. Obviously, Game 7, anything's possible, and it's like
anything is possible.
Well, it's interesting because Denver's blown a lot of second half leads, hence they were down 3-2. Now it's even. You have the young team versus the experienced team, the 2 MVP candidates. I saw somebody make an interesting post yesterday. How many more games did OKC win?
I mean,
14, 18?
Yeah. I mean, a lot more games.
So, well, here's what the post somebody made. Okay, let's see. They won 18 game difference. And I thought this is an interesting point. The argument for SGA to win MVP is that the Nuggets were that much better. And the argument last night somebody posted on Twitter was like, look, you watch this series, he's like bringing that argument into this. He goes, the argument is that he should get the MVP because his team is that much better. That's the argument that they're going to make to give him the MVP. And his argument was, this series proves they're not 18 games better.
Right.
If we're going to judge Jokic versus SGA. And I think that's an interesting argument, and I think it holds up.
Well, listen, we've talked about the
Sure.
NBA MVP a million times, but the truth is, Denver was a high seed when they won the championship. It's like you have these, when you're up and coming and you have other teams in the conference that you're like, oh, we got to figure out how to beat, for Denver, the Lakers, and we've got to figure out how to beat the Spurs, and we got, like, obviously it wasn't the Spurs a couple of years ago, but whoever the top teams were, and I don't know who, maybe Denver even was the 1 seed there that year, but you're thinking to yourself, we need the home court, we know whatever. Denver is now, we have the best player in the world, we need to be healthy. We've seen it going all the way back to the Shaq Lakers teams and a lot of other teams, honestly, where, I mean, even Boston this year, it's like Boston obviously wasn't committed to being like, we need to be the 1 seed. And they're not worried about, oh man, we need home court advantage. This OKC team was like, we want the 1 seed. We're going to, play the whole season to be the 1 seed. And then we get into the conversation that we've had so many times about the NBA MVP, where it's like, if you have a standout best player on the best team, they're immediately going to be thrown into the list of guys who are, and MVP finalists.
Sure. And you know what? It's I think it's a toss-up. I know obviously OKC is going to be the favorite. Truthfully, I'll be rooting for Denver because they're the underdogs.
Listen, obviously we'll talk about my Knicks in a minute, but everything is through the lens of, as a Knicks fan right now, it's through like, well, what if we did make the finals? Who do we want to play? And not that, and I say this every time I do a live, I'm not looking past like the Celtics or looking past the Pacers, but you go, somebody, if you do get there, you got to play somebody. So I'm always like, I'd rather play Denver because they're like the Knicks. They're more of a top heavy team. The Knicks have sort of a depth issue. Oklahoma City has the opposite of a depth issue. They have too many great players. So I've been sort of going like, I'm pulling for Denver, but at the same time, I find myself rooting for OKC just because I like OKC's team. I like Hartenstein. I like, Chet. I like SGA. I like their guys top to bottom, and it seems like a fun team. So it's kind of a coin flip for me. Like I'm trying to convince myself with my head to root for Denver, but then for some reason my heart is rooting for OKC.
Yeah. Well, it's again, it's like, are they? I feel like you see this all the time in the NBA, where like a young team plays great, and then you say they're just not there yet.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, I think a lot of people didn't even see this going 7.
I didn't see it going 7. I mean, I knew that there was a possibility of it being a good series because, and if I had an MVP vote, it would go to Jokic. They have the best player, and I don't think it's particularly close when you talk about the effect that a guy has, the actual value somebody brings to a team. This is, we've now reached the LeBron James, Michael Jordan, whatever. You're going to get the random SGA MVP, like you got the random Russell Westbrook MVP or whatever. But like, when you had those Harden MVPs or that Westbrook MVP or even the Durant MVP singular, those guys were never the best player on the court. Honestly, even the Steph MVPs, like, you knew if you get to the finals and you play LeBron James, they have the best player. They have the best player by a fucking landslide.
Yeah.
And that's the situation here. But Oklahoma City is just so much deeper. And that's the NBA right there. One team is deep. The other team has head and shoulders the best player on the floor.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to.
And I just want to say this, and I know, guys, it's Thursday and it's a Miller Lite ad day, so get your beers ready. But I was reading something post game last night while I was in the car about just like, I don't think we're appreciating enough what Jokic is doing, what Jokic brings to this team. Look at this, the rebounds, the assists, the points, the whatever. Guys, he's not even in the Western Conference Finals yet. Imagine, and that was with last year him not making, to the Western Conference Finals. LeBron James did that for 10 consecutive years. The people will never appreciate that man fully.
Yeah. So game 6 tonight for the Knicks.
Yes.
I mean, look, they got to win. I don't have to win. Like, it's just game 7 will be tough in Boston.
For sure. Game 6 will be tough in New York. But, I find myself in the same position as when we did this episode on Monday. You nervous? And I'm like, I would have signed up for 2-2. I obviously would have signed up for 3-2. So the Knicks played their best game of the series in game 4 in New York. You're going back home. You just need another good Brunson game. You need to play well again. Like the thing with this series is when both teams are playing poorly, it favors the Celtics. Obviously, when one team is playing well and the other team is not playing well, that's every sporting event ever, But when both teams are playing well, it favors the Knicks.
Yeah. Do you think there's something to Tatum being out? They were down 3-1. And almost like there's less pressure. And it just changes the vibe of maybe the team chemistry of like, okay, our top dog is out. Where they just play freer.
I think that there's a little bit of that. I think Joe Mazzulla, and this is one of the reasons I feel confident in this series. Maybe, I'm obviously more confident that we win in a game 6 than if we had to go to a game 7 and play in Boston. But the reason I'm confident in this series, one way or the other, Joe Mazzulla is not a good coach. Or maybe he's a good coach, but he's certainly not a great coach. And I think even more than our best player's down, no pressure on us, like whatever, is that injury forced him to play lineups that were far more effective than the lineups he was playing when he had all his ammunition. Like last game, Luke Cornett, who has dominated the Knicks this season, got minutes and dominated the Knicks in a playoff game. And Joe Mazzulla is doing this Mitch thing. And Joe Mazzulla he also was forced to play. He had Pritchard and White on the court together a lot because Tatum was out. Those guys separately and together have been far more effective. Maybe not in obviously Jason Tatum had a huge scoring game in game 4 before he got injured, or game 5 before he got injured. 4. But those guys, in terms of hitting big shots, the shots that they've hit against the Knicks in this series have been way bigger than anything Jason Tatum did. And those guys were forced to play together, and those guys were forced to get more minutes. And so I think that the injury has not only taken the pressure off, but it's forced Mazzulla to change his rotation in a way that actually benefits the team.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, because here's the thing. You have Tatum, you have Brown, and it's like, Brown was the finals MVP, which is crazy to think. It's like, oh, your top dog's gone. Okay, you still have the guy who won the finals MVP last year.
Yeah. Now, listen, I think the league has now gotten it to their game 6, and it's back in Madison Square Garden, and none of these series were, obviously the Denver OKC series is great, but the Indiana series was not great. And now you have a potential of, Indiana and Minnesota are 1 round away from the finals. The NBA will kill itself if it's Indiana, Minnesota, or Indiana, OKC. Clay Travis will say it's gone woke, but it'll just be like, oh, no one gives a shit about Indiana or Oklahoma City. But we've talked about the NBA conspiracy theories a lot, and I think some people take them way too far, and I think we do have to talk about the draft one. But I texted two friends the morning of Game 5, and I just said, how are the Knicks 5.5-point dogs? And I was like, are we betting our entire life savings on the money line, or is the NBA making this go 6? And this is the biggest sucker bet of all time. And to me, the answer to that was the sharp money. The Vegas guys were like, oh, I'm for sure betting on the Celtics. Jalen Brunson was called for 5 personal fouls in the 3rd quarter alone. The game was tied at half, 59-59. And then in the 3rd quarter, Jalen Brunson was called for 5 personal fouls. That you can be the kind of guy like me that goes, I don't like complaining about the refs, and I don't like I don't like sports conspiracies in general, because they usually lead to a place that doesn't make sense. And again, we'll talk about the lottery, but that is suspicious to say the least.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, look, dude, I'll tell you what, the lottery thing is a really interesting discussion.
I tweeted it. I said, and we've talked about it, I didn't buy the Adam Silver forced Luka to the Lakers thing at all until that happened. And the reason is, again, and I still kind of want to dive into this from sort of both sides, is there is no such thing. People always talk about the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball wants, and they want this and they want that. In the end, there is no league. The leagues are a collection of owners, and the commissioner is the mouthpiece of 30 owners in the NBA. And, there's now this story that keeps getting more and more attention about how Adam Silver hates James Dolan, because James Dolan is essentially like the league's Jerry Jones, where he doesn't believe in revenue sharing, and why should Oklahoma City get a bunch of the money that I make here in New York, et cetera, et cetera. That being said, the whole you remember where the draft lottery conspiracy started, right? Patrick Ewing, they froze an envelope so the Knicks could get Patrick Ewing because they're a big market team, and he's this sure thing guy, and we're going to send him to the. So then in the past, ready for this, 40 years? In the past 40 years, the New York Knicks have been terrible for 28 of them.
Yeah.
And they've never once received the first overall pick again. And in the Zion draft, where there was two sure things. They ended up third. Like, yes, I know there's Adam Silver, James Dolan thing, but like the league is quote unquote better when the Knicks are good, and they've given the Cleveland Cavaliers the first pick like 7 times, and the Knicks haven't gotten it. But everybody ties these conspiracy theories back. But I said that about this lottery, that it is suspicious that a team with a 1.8% chance to get the first overall pick got the first overall pick after they sent their best generational talent to the Lakers. And I'm like, you're making me believe in a conspiracy theory.
But also, it's not just that. It's I'm sure you've seen the meme. It's like every big trade recently, the team who traded that star got the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
It's like the Pelicans trade CP3. They get the number 1 pick. Who else was on that list? Now we have Dallas.
Yeah.
There's
Anthony Davis. Yeah.
Anthony Davis is traded. They get the top pick. They get Zion.
The Kevin Love and Kyrie and
it's just it. Here's the thing. It is crazy to think they only had a 1.8% chance. Oh yeah, the Cavs won the lotto after LeBron left. It's just like, dude, the history's there.
But then it's like.
But by the way, not just that. I don't know if you saw this. The odds of the top 3.
Well, that's a weird. That I've seen this stat.
Dallas, San Antonio, and Philly in that order was 0.0114%. So there was a 0.1% chance. I think they need to get rid of the lottery, to be honest.
Well, then teams are tanking, right?
What? Okay, teams tank already. What? Here's my thing. Do you think teams tank in the NFL?
Yeah.
Okay. What system do you think is more fair?
I think that we're even talking about the quarterback guys. Like, you have the first overall pick, and you're the Browns, for example. You're a bad franchise that's run poorly, that's going to hire a bad coach, that's going to hire a bad defensive coordinator, that's going to sign bad free agents. You're bad. You could draft the Tom Brady. You could draft the Peyton Manning. You could draft the Baker Mayfield. You could draft whatever and ruin them. I don't know that Tim Couch isn't a good NFL quarterback. I just know he got drafted by the Browns. And there's 35 other guys who are that example. LeBron James literally went to the Browns of the NFL, of the NBA. Took them to a handful of finals and won a title.
I guess my point is this.
It's just too easy for one guy to affect it. So then if you do the tank for Wemby or whatever,
it just like Dallas won 21 more games than Washington. To me, that's just not a fair system. And I get people will counter and they will say what you said. They're just going to tank. Well, then they'll tank. I don't know. Like, to me,
there's been a lot of creative. There's been a lot of creative suggestions over the years, like all the lottery teams go into a season-ending tournament, and then the winner of that gets the first overall pick. You know what I mean? It's like not only can you not tank, you've got to be good enough to, and then but I mean, obviously the system isn't perfect, and they've tried to adjust it with the balanced tanking. The last 3 teams all have the same percentage and whatever. And no offense, because I've seen these 3 teams in this order. It's like The Mavericks had a 1.8% chance of getting the first overall pick. So guess what? Any three teams in that order, that's how fucking math works. The numbers are gonna be incredibly, because you're multiplying it by 1.8% to start.
But like my thing on the history, that's where I struggle. You're telling me it's like from the other side of it, from somebody saying, "Oh, it's not fixed." It's just a coincidence that Cleveland gets the number one pick when they get LeBron. It's just a coincidence.
But let me ask you something. LeBron to the Cavs makes sense, right? Oh, hometown boy, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Once LeBron leaves the Cavs, once he does the decision and he goes to Miami, why do we care about making Cleveland relevant?
I mean, I don't know. It's a good counter.
Because where's Sacramento after fucking Chris Webber left? Or
why do we care about making New Orleans relevant twice?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, now New Orleans was a rebranded expansion team, et cetera. So like I can see the argument in that. But again, Sacramento just like no one gives a fuck. Like, is Cleveland more important in the fucking American landscape than Sacramento? Why have the Knicks not gotten the single first overall draft pick? Why did the Knicks always fall one or two spots lower than they needed to when they're the biggest market in America? Why were they 8th in the Steph Curry season? Why were they 3rd in the Zion Ja season? Why were they, 4th in the Jason Tatum season or whatever? Like, because the conspiracy theory is, well, the NBA doesn't want the Knicks to be good because they hate James Dolan or whatever, and then force them to sell the fucking team.
But again, my response is like, if you don't want to have these rumors, and here's the problem with basketball as far as the NBA is concerned. They have more of the conspiracy type discussions than any other league. They do. Probably because they had a ref who literally, and we all know he wasn't solo.
Well, listen, I think that
my point is, if you want to get rid of that, just get rid of the lottery.
Yeah.
And there's no discussion.
But NBA quote unquote fans are already like, the regular season doesn't matter. These teams just tank, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I listen, I think that's something that all of these leagues should do less of, is listen to the loud portion of the fan base that probably doesn't watch and will never watch anyway. But listen, I'm on the fence because this one was extra suspicious.
That's what I'm saying.
But I flip to the other side where I'm always like, yeah, but like, how does this serve them? Oh, so San Antonio just got Tim Duncan and Wembanyama, like two. Why does the league care about what's going on in fucking Central Texas?
Well, it's just a deal. It's not about Central Texas
or South Texas even.
It's about shipping Luka to a major market.
No, okay, but why are the Spurs? Why did the Spurs get Duncan and Wemby? Two of the sure things that there's ever been. Why the Spurs? Why not the Bulls?
I don't know.
Why not the Clippers, who just got put into a fucking new arena and play? Like, obviously they weren't in the lottery in the Wemby draft, but like, why haven't the Clippers ever gotten fucking anybody? They're like, oh, fuck, man. The year we decided to rig it for the Clippers, they took Olowokandi. We can't do that again.
I got something I want to play that I saw before we started the show. It just popped up on a YouTube feed. It's so funny. It's like 40 seconds long. It obviously, it's just, I was in the algorithm, and it's basically, it's called how routine 3-pointers reviewed in 1988. Dude, you're gonna love us. So this is just like a 1988. I think it's a regular season game, and you'll see. Listen to the announcers. There's a lot to break down here. First of all, Doc Gooden is just, I mean,
Doc Gooden.
Doc Gooden. Doc Rivers is just like
this is in 1988. If Doc Gooden's weighing in on this in 1988, it's gonna be extra fucking Tyrone Biggums.
Rivers is just like bricking wide open threes. You'll see it, but they're wide open, and it's at the end of the game. Listen to the announcers. It's wild. This is for all the old heads out here.
Is Doc Rivers on the Hawks in this clip? The Clippers?
Is he on the Knicks?
Oh, he's on the Knicks already?
I think it's Doc Rivers. Let me see. I literally barely watched it, but I was like, this is funny.
Ballgame, 1:45 to go.
Okay.
They were down by 1 at the half in that department.
So real quick. So we got Hawks Pistons under 2 minutes to go, fourth quarter, 83-83. This is in Detroit.
Tie ball game, 1:45 to go. Rodman all over Wilkins. Double team Isaiah. Left Rivers open for a three. No.
Rivers is on the Hawks. Look at this shot again, Frano.
Yeah. No. Strange shot there. I can't figure that one out.
The answer. Strange shot there. Wide open three. Can't figure that one out.
He was wide open, but why throw up a three with a long shot clock? Pistons say thank you. They have possession, a minute and a half to play. Dumars has played good defense against Theus in the last few moments. Carr back out the Rivers, tries a three. Wow. Strange shot again. Boy, I don't know.
Pistons are going to paint a little star out there beyond the three-point line for Doc to line up. That's two big ones that he's missed here the last quarter and overtime.
They can't even fathom a guy being able to hit a wide open.
Wide open. Two of them. It's hilarious.
It's actually pretty. Listen, Doc Rivers obviously couldn't fucking shoot, but strategically, Doc Rivers, and I've literally maybe never said this. Strategically, very smart by Doc Rivers there to throw the ball in the post. Those guys crash down in the double team. He gives himself some space by moving out toward the three-point line. And now he's like, hey, if this guy kicks the ball back to me, I'm not going to have a guy within 10 feet of me.
It's so amazing, though. So figure 1988, so 37 years ago. It's amazing to be like, why would you shoot a wide open three?
If, like, no joke, if those shots were taken and missed in today's NBA, the Pistons would call a timeout and be like, dude, he's not going to miss those all day. We need to do something about when they go down to you can't just leave guys open for wide open threes.
Yeah, it'd be the exact opposite.
They would call timeout. They'd be like, I know he missed. No single player in the NBA is going to miss that twice. You cannot give Doc Rivers 15 feet of space to shoot a three, or we're going to lose this fucking game.
It just shows how much the game has changed.
So that was what on Twitter? Somebody just posted like,
no, that was on that showed up in my YouTube algorithm. Just like, which like who knows? Random shit I'll watch on YouTube. So like that just appeared as in like you'd be interested in something like this. Yeah. No surprise there. Because like I'll go down YouTube rabbit hole sometimes of like old videos or just laughing. There's enough out there.
How much YouTube do you watch as like are you like a big, like they say, I think I've heard something recently that, and this might be a crazy stat, but like 70% of internet traffic is YouTube.
Oh, it's the biggest platform in the world. I go through stints where like I'll be heavy YouTube. And that's why the NFL, I don't know if you saw this, they're doing their first ever YouTube game. The one in Brazil to kick off the year.
Now, will that be available like for you as a YouTube TV guy? It's on just both. YouTube? Oh, it's on
both. So it's a strategic move for them, marketing. YouTube will have week 1, the 2025 season in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I forget who's playing there. I think it's the Chargers and somebody else, but it might even be Chargers and Chiefs. But obviously the NFL's doing that. It's the first time like a game is just like free for the world. Hey, you guys want to watch American football? We're in Brazil. Smart, especially if it's I I could be wrong. I think it's Chiefs Chargers. Hey, let's get one of our powerhouses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's the most watched platform in the world.
Oh, it's no. I'm like this
Like,
stat
it's not even close.
again. The stat was like I think it was like 70% of internet traffic is just people on YouTube, which I was like, that's insane. That's an insane number. But I don't do a ton of like my girl watches. She has a podcast she watches basically every day, so she's on YouTube a lot, and then she'll end up being like, "Oh, I watched this thing on this." I'm just like, I just don't scroll around YouTube, but I think that's just me being like kind of old boomery.
I mean, yeah, it's to me, it's crazy to think. I believe it was 2005, 2004 when it started. Like I literally 2005. First video was me at the zoo. That's hilarious. April 23rd, 2005. I remember who I heard about YouTube from Brant Tobler.
Wow.
When I was living in Las Vegas. And I didn't hear about it till probably like, I don't know, early 2006. He's like, there's this platform you can like upload videos. He's like, you can upload stand-up. And I was like, what?
I mean, it is. I'm looking at it right now. It is 18 years ago that our boy Guy Fiorita posted our porn Foley artist video that was like our first ever August 6th, 2006.
You had a video August 6th, 2006.
That like went viral. At the time, there was no word for viral, but they were like, this is like kind of blowing up on YouTube.
It's insane to think how new the platform is.
If you're out there and you've never seen porn Foley artist, give that a watch.
That's funny. My point is, like, TVs have been around, I don't know, 70 years, 60 years, like the again, the context of it is just, it's pretty insane. And that's also what I love, to kind of bring it back to our discussion of like, when you hear these boomers, you're like, yeah, dude, I got evidence of just how ridiculous basketball was in 1988.
Yeah.
He's got two wide open, like, miss him, fine. He's like not even near the hoop.
Yeah. No one's near him and he's not near the hoop. It's literally like, Doc Rivers, can you make solid contact with the rim on a 3-point shot if you were alone in the gym? And he's like, no, I cannot.
Yeah. Exactly. How do you like?
And they asked a young Doc Rivers why he missed those shots. He was like, well, I don't take a lot of threes because it's not like a big thing in our game today, but I had good looks. I had the shot. There was no danger, so I took it. You took it.
Would that have been a Spud Webb Hawks era, 1988?
Probably, yeah. Spud Webb, Dominique, Kevin Willis. Remember Kevin Willis? Rebounding machine.
Yeah. So, Pacers, Cruz. What's a better matchup for them? Knicks?
I mean, no. I would say Boston without Tatum.
Boston, okay.
Well, what's a better matchup for them? Meaning, like, what is there a better chance of them winning?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they played Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They got swept, I think, but there was some close games. I think with a series without Tatum, they would go in confident. Again, this is the OKC thing. The Indiana's got depth, and Indiana's got they're just going to throw a bunch of guys at you. I think without Tatum, they'd probably rather play Boston because they're not getting home court advantage no matter what. I think they'd probably rather play Boston because Knicks from a matchup standpoint for Indiana wants to run. And Indiana is going to want to get out there. The Knicks are going to be like, we want to fucking, we want to throw a wing stop at you. We want to have, we want to switch McHale and Hart and Anunoby onto Halliburton and make him get the ball out of his hands. And Boston's going to be like, all right, let's play some hoops. Let's run. Let's see who can fucking score the most points. Knicks aren't going to fuck with you like that.
So we watching the game tonight?
It's a good question. I'm assuming at the pub, but we're going to tee off on the golf course here. I think our tee time is at 10 a.m. So we will be wrapping up golf probably around 2. So I'll have some time between golf and game time. I would think enough time to come home, have a shower, get over to the pub. I told Ian, I was like, prepare for a fucking 2.5 hour nervous breakdown.
So basically, the Miller Lights will start on the golf course and continue. Take a little break, go home, refresh, shower, and they'll continue during Game 6 tonight.
Andy, I'm glad you brought up MillerLite.com/dirty sports, where if you are a dirtball, you're going to get ready to watch this mega important Game 6 tonight. Oh, also, it's Mets Yankees this weekend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's going to be an intense sports night with myself and Ian, my buddy here who owns the pub, is also a big Mets fan. He doesn't care for the NBA at all, but he is a big Mets fan. So it's going to be a very intense night of sports watching for us. But you guys have to go out there at MillerLite.com/dirty sports. Get your Miller Lights for this epic night of New York sports. But let me tell you something last night, Andy. I leave LA at 3 p.m. I leave Port Hueneme at 3 p.m. with stops for food and stops for gas and stops to walk the dogs. We get up here at 11:30. I'm like, you get here. I had to get up at 6:30 to get breakfast and do dirty sports, but you've been in the car for 8.5 hours. You need to decompress, right?
Yeah.
So I go to the fridge and I'm like, I'm staying in, Ian's Airbnb, which is his house is right behind me here. He has an Airbnb. He so graciously hosts me in. And I'm like, I think one of their other friends was here in the last couple days or last couple weeks. I'm hoping that there's like a loose 2 beers in the fridge. I was like, I don't care. Is it an IPA? Is it a what? Like at this point, I'm not picky. Am I hoping to open the fridge and have a Miller Lite in there? Of course I am. But, I'm like, I need to decompress 2 beers right now. I'm going to open the fridge. I'm literally crossing my fingers as I open the fridge. I open the fridge. There's 24 regular Miller Lite cans. And then there is 12 golden 16-ounces. I fell to my knees. It was literally the John Travolta opening the briefcase moment. I fell to my knees and was like, I have the single best friends in the world. I mean, this man went out and filled the fridge with Goldens for me. It made the sound. It made the heaven sound when I opened the fridge. Oh, it may as well. As I opened the fridge, the next thing that would have happened was The Simpsons. Like, it was so glorious. So shout out to the McDuff's crew. Shout out to Ian. And shout out to Miller Lite. You get in the car for an 8-hour mountain drive and you open the fridge. There's no feeling in the world like opening the fridge to 12 golden 16-ounce 50th anniversary cans. Oh, and then just some 24 loose regular cans.
Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories, like we have on the screen. Go to MillerLite.com/dirty sports to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. So I want to pivot to this Pete Rose stuff,
Oh yeah,
which is obviously huge news
in Cincinnati.
here. We
I
also
mean, a huge day for you. You're a big Pete Rose guy, big shoeless Joe Jackson guy. We know that about Andy
big
Ruth.
shoeless Joey Jackson guy. We got you know, I don't know if you follow. They got wind like this was probably going to happen, and everybody predicted it, especially here because the Reds were honoring him. They made 5/14, number 14, right? They made 5/14 the Pete Rose Day. They were going to honor him at the ballpark, and there was news circulating for a while that hey, the Major League Baseball was going to do a huge announcement the day before this to coincide, and so
and is that when it dropped?
Yeah, so they lifted the ban the day before. You know, the Reds have this whole, you know, it was like the whole stadium, not just stadium. It was like the most packed it's been outside the concourse. They did a whole thing for Rose 14, which honored his number and also the girls that he liked to sleep with, the age. So
it was an interesting. I thought it was an interesting play by the Reds to say also girls between the ages of 5 and 14 get in free. That was a weird,
interesting marketing ploy.
That's a weird ploy.
Yeah. So not just him. I'm glad you brought up Shoeless Joe. I think it was like 18 guys like who are deceased. People who were permanently banned have now been reinstated, which makes them eligible for the Hall of Fame. By the way, it doesn't lock. There's a whole thing, and I'm not reading it. I read it. There's a 5 things you need to know about the ERA committee process. It's a very long article I read in The Athletic.
Now, just is 513 Cincinnati Day because that's your guys'
area code.
And has that been a regular thing for a while, or is that relatively new?
It's relatively new. It's again a social media push thing.
Right.
513 day. So all that happened. You know, they announced it on 513 day, and this and all that. The next day is the Pete Rose Day. So it's like all these things happen, but again, he's got to go through committees. All these guys do, which do still involve some writers, involve former players, some league executives. I just don't understand why it took this long. Again, not just on Pete Rose, on like Shoeless Joe. And my question is, why now?
Listen, I think that Pete Rose, I actually think this is basically Pete Rose specific. Like them going like, oh, also, once you're dead, if you're on the banned list, you're like, it's a weird thing to just say, like, no matter what you did and why you were banned from life, once you die, you're then eligible. It's like some weird, like, post-mortem punishment / reward. But basically, you know, we've talked a lot about what are the FanDuel odds that Pete Rose gets in that they're going to play during the games at, you know, Bet Online Ballpark in whatever, you know, we're probably 10 years away from one of the major American cities renaming itself to like DraftKings, Texas. But I think the whole gambling conversation, just like, oh, gambling is so not a thing that we like pretend is this like dark, evil thing anymore. I think that chatter started, you know, you and I have obviously started it the entirety of the time we have done Dirty Sports, and we've always been ahead of the game with that kind of thing. But like in the last couple of years, finally people start coming around and like, all right, so this game is sponsored by DraftKings and they're showing me live odds, but Pete Rose isn't allowed in the Hall of Fame. But the reason I think this is Pete Rose specific, Pete Rose, and I'm talking about the having sex with a teenage girl thing aside, and the gambling thing aside, people hated him because, I mean, with the gambling thing, he essentially never apologized.
No, yeah, he was never remorseful.
He was never remorseful. he made it he almost made it his brand that he was a gambler. So I think Pete Rose was never getting in when Pete Rose was alive because they were never going to give Pete Rose the satisfaction. So when Pete Rose died, they're like, oh, well, the all-time hits leader should be in. We were never going to put him in when he's alive because we fucking hate him. So now we're going to do this post-mortem Pete Rose thing. Oh, and while we're doing this, just like, yeah, all these guys who gambled, they're all in now too.
Yeah.
Because we know that that's ludicrous, and we know it's insane that we've been keeping them all out forever. But if we had let Shoeless Joe Jackson in, then we would have basically had to admit that we were not letting Pete Rose in, not because of his gambling, but because we hate his guts.
I'll be curious. Like there's a way they might hold him out, especially you start throwing these writers in their ego.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think the vibe I get from most former players, though, is that like it's pretty consensual.
The relationship with the 14-year-old?
I was gonna say play on words. It's pretty consensual that like they want him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he's got so many like big name Hall of Famers that have vouched for him.
He's the all-time hits leader. What the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah.
It gets to the point where it's like, if I had a Hall of Fame vote, which I don't, I would be like, and everybody loves to do that ballot circling thing. Obviously, he's not on the proper ballot like that, but I would do the circle Pete Rose and put, he's the all-time hits leader. What the fuck are we talking about? And then I would screenshot it. And then I would also be like, here's some other ball players that we know had sex with teenagers. Here's some other ball players that we know were gamblers. Here's some. You guys gave Shohei Ohtani the MVP last year.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Sure. I know.
Also, every fucking Dominican ball player in Major League Baseball has a 7-year-old with their 19-year-old girl. So do the math on that. What do you mean? She's 19. Yeah, but he has a 7-year-old with her.
Some Phillip Rivers shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also crazy. And he wasn't a good person. Like no, but I just want to say, like, it's just weird living here, and like he's so revered because he's from here too, and I get it. I get like why. And there's obviously Pete Rose Way downtown. It's been there forever, like my whole life. And it's like, but like he comes with so much baggage. But again, like you said, he's all time. Like at the end of the day, he's all-time hits leader.
Listen,
he's all-time hits leader.
Listen, not to get political, but just like I used to say about people who voted Republican. Let's take Donald Trump. Let's take the current version of Republican out of this. Republicans have always been, quote unquote, conservative. Republicans have, I would say in some regard, always kind of been like anti-woman, anti-gay to some extent, certainly more so than the other side. And again, this is coming from somebody who's never voted for a Democrat except for John Kerry one time. But my thing was always like, George Bush, war criminal. But I would go, oh, you voted for him just because you're a Republican and you have money. And you're like, this is a strictly financial decision. You're like, I don't give a shit about any of this shit. I just have money. I'd be like, I get it, man. I understand that. Now we have reached this thing where, to me, that if that's your reasoning, it feels like a little gross. I'm like, what are you willing to look past for financial reasons only? But guess what? Here's the thing with the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose getting into the Hall of Fame has no effect on you. It has no effect on anybody in the world except Pete Rose. So, yeah, he's a bad guy. He was a statutory rapist. He was a gambler. He's whatever. But him getting in doesn't put him in some sort of position of power or mean that like statutory rape is okay or whatever. It just means, like those people that were making a decision just about money, he's the all-time hits leader. If that's the only thing that you say, that's all that matters. I voted for him because he's the all-time hits leader. Cool. That's fine with me. Oh, well, he also, okay, but what is that? How is him having done that have any effect on anything? We're not saying, oh, it's okay, you can have sex with 14-year-olds. We're just saying he's the all-time hits leader. He's got to be in the Hall of Fame. He's the all-time hits leader. That's why I voted for him. Joe, how do you justify? Because he has the most hits of anybody that's ever played this game.
Well, I think, as far as justifying, as far as a vote, it's just like, I don't think it has to be justified when it comes to baseball career.
Right. Because that's all it is about. That's the thing, is like, that's kind of why I was compared to the other thing, is like voting somebody in off, their morals are a factor.
Yeah, but you could make an easy argument, and I probably would. I would make an argument that the war, like an Iraq war, is 4 times worse than voting for any of the candidates like who didn't lead us to a war. Is my point.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm saying when you're voting for somebody who's literally going to have an effect on your life, take morals into an equation. When you're voting for somebody who's going to be in a museum, the morals don't mean shit.
But what do you mean more? Like I'm a little confused on that. Like who's having, like, you're talking about like any politician having a direct effect on somebody's life?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Do you think politicians have a direct effect though?
I mean, depending on like what their position is, but yeah, obviously that's kind of like their whole purpose.
Yeah. I've always kind of taken the stance of like that, like the direct impact, no matter who the candidate is. If I'm talking presidential, it's like how much of a direct impact. Which again, I ironically, I've had this discussion, and it actually went back to George W. Bush of being.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because like you're from a military family.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
that has a direct impact on
that's
your
what I'm saying. In my life, I've always said, like, I don't know how much presidents affected me personally, and this is just me. I'm not speaking for everybody else.
Yeah, but my point is also,
but he's one of them,
right? But he affected you in some sort of way, and then other presidents affect other people in some sort of way.
Gotcha.
But my point is, Pete Rose getting the Hall of Fame
doesn't affect us.
No one.
Yeah. No.
It affects no one. It affects literally the display in a museum. So if you just go, listen, I'm not thinking about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking he's the all-time hits leader.
I just hate all the we always go over this, all the Hall of Fames. I just hate how we can't just like let's just view their on the court or on the field accomplishments. Yeah. That's all I want to look at. I don't care whether you're Pete Rose or Terrell Owens, or like, it's just like the reason we're not putting guys in right away. It's just always been so absurd, and we need to just judge somebody by what they're being judged on, which is their athletic talent into a Hall of Fame. It's like, to me, it's funny. It's very clear cut. It's very black and white, but they make it gray. Why are they making it gray?
And then we've talked about it with Terrell Owens, and we've talked about it with Eli Manning, and we've talked about it with, some of these baseball guys who are like, then you're also going to do they are, but not first ballot, or they are, but they've got to wait. And it's like, bro, it's a very clear line. It's a line in the sand. Is this guy
A Hall of Famer.
a Hall of Famer? Yay or nay? The idea, and I said this during the Eli Manning thing. If somebody ever votes for Eli Manning that didn't vote for him this year, they should have their ballot revoked. Same as Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, he's the second leading receiver of all time, but he shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You should have your ballot revoked.
Yeah, I agree. Let's wrap it up here with this this Caleb Williams story, which is pretty interesting. Did you see this?
I saw the headline.
So there's a new book coming out. Who's writing the book?
Man, we rush these things these days. This is like how they were like, we're gonna make a movie out of Tiger King. I'm like, Tiger King is still airing.
I know.
We wrote a book about Caleb. Caleb was a rookie.
Well, it's not just Caleb Williams. ESPN Seth Wickersham is writing a new book about quarterbacks.
Uh-huh.
So I guess Caleb Williams made the cut. Caleb Williams and his father sought to avoid getting drafted by the Bears. Is detailed in the book. Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die, Williams' father, Carl, said in the book.
It's not wrong.
He's not wrong. According to the book, Williams decided he wanted to be drafted by the Vikings after connecting with Minnesota coach Kevin O'Connell at the NFL scouting combine. But the Bears general manager, Ryan Poles, told Williams Chicago would be drafting him no matter what. Williams also did not like the coaching staff. He said, do I want to go there? Do I think I can do it with their former offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron? And Williams said, this is in the book. This was going to be their move. Listen to this. Wickersham writes in the book that the father and son had considered publicly attacking the Bears organization and the city of Chicago to prevent getting drafted there. Which, just say you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But Williams was concerned it would only lead to more damage if the Bears refused to trade him. He changed his mind after a pre-draft meeting, according to the book. He said, I can do it. I'm going to go to the Bears. He told his dad.
Well, now there's this.
Here's my thing. I have always said this. I don't know why more people don't do Eli. I just don't get it. Now, even in this, here's what's interesting. This is an interesting little thing you'll like. They seeked out advice from Archie. They consulted with Archie Manning on the matter.
Who's now 80 with CTE. Like, where should we go? He's like, pudding. Y'all need that pudding.
Joe, I don't get why more guys don't do this. I just don't. You know, I've said that about Burrow. Like Burrow, whatever. They made a Super Bowl. I think it's at a certain point. I've said this and I've stand by. I think Burrow is going to regret the Bengals thing, and he's going to regret re-signing.
Let me ask you something, Andy. If you were the Arch Manning of this draft, if you let's say you were the Trevor Lawrence or the Andrew Luck, you are the guy. You're the no doubt about it. You're getting drafted first overall next season. And they said, and
who's on my list?
Who? Like, which teams are you like? I refuse to go there.
Well, one, his dad is right. Shout out to Carl, hot Carl over there. The Bears are where QBs go. They're on my list. Nope, sorry.
No Bears, no Bengals,
Browns.
no Browns,
no
B
Bears,
team.
no Browns, no Bengals, no Jets.
No Jets.
Yeah. I don't know if I had anybody else.
Okay. You go to the Raiders, you're fine with that.
Yeah, because they have Brady now involved.
You go to the Jags?
Yeah, I go to the Jags. Here's the thing. The Baltimore Colts did draft John Elway. Well, what's interesting is, like, you have the power. The Chargers did draft Eli Manning. You have the power. I'm just not going to play for you. Cool. Draft me. it's weird, like word that they would still draft him. We're going to draft him no matter what. But you have 100% the power.
Yeah.
It's the same way I was going off a little side plug. To me, it's the same way. And you and I have actually talked about this off air. I was talking about this on the Andy Ruther show. It's the same way I was explaining. We have like some fat medical bills right now. And it's the same way I go, I have all the power. You can't ding our credit. I know how this works. And they actually just passed the law, right? I was like, you can say we owe you guys $13,000 after insurance, which is insane, by the way. You can say that, but like, you can't garnish my wages. You can't affect my credit if the medical bills go to collections. So let's just negotiate. Let's be reasonable. To me, it's a very similar situation. I have the power. You act like you have the power, but you don't. I just won't pay it, or I just won't pay for you or play for you. It's the same thing. Like, I don't know if he really didn't want to go, and it sounds like he didn't. Why did he do this?
Yeah.
Here's why. Here's what I think.
Well,
why.
that sounds like he had a pre-draft meeting that.
You know what I think it is with these guys ultimately? And I think I'll probably throw Burrow in this. It's ego. They think they can be the guy to change the organization.
Well, listen, the Bears thing is interesting because it's not like the Bears organization is this dumpster fire. It's not the Browns or the Bengals.
I agree.
Where the quarterbacks go to die thing is like, it is a little weird because it's like, but why?
And look, maybe that changes with their new coach.
The field conditions and wind and like what, and it gets cold there, but it's like
Green
it's not
Bay's
that much.
fine.
Exactly. Weirdly, Green Bay is where quarterbacks go to thrive.
Yeah, exactly. It is weird.
So that's the thing. I don't know if I was a quarterback. I don't know if the Bears would be on my list, but the Browns and the Bengals would, and the Jets probably would. Yeah.
I just like this is your career. This is I don't know. How can you really maximize winning and making money? Those are the two goals when I'm drafted. And I'm number one, right? My goal is to win and to make as much money as possible at the end of the day. Because you never know what can happen. I just think certain organizations, and you're right, maybe the Bears is not on my list. I don't know. It is a weird one where I just every time if you did a word match game or just like what comes to mind, if I asked 100 strangers in the street and I say Bears, they're gonna say defense.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Or Walter Payton or something like Mike Ditka. They're not going to say quarterback ever.
No.
But the 100%, it's my three no brainers.
Unless you talk to Jim McMahon, and again, he would also say pudding.
Do you know the background on the Eli thing?
Yeah.
I guess I never followed it closely enough. Like, how did that play out? Did they do that after the Chargers drafted him, or they told him ahead of time?
No, they told him ahead of time.
Okay.
I'm not playing it. That's why we have the hyper awkward Eli holding the Chargers jersey.
Because he knows. Like, did he know he was going to the Giants then, or no?
No.
He just knew they were trading him.
No,
so he didn't know.
No. He told the Chargers, him and Archie told the Chargers, we don't want you to draft us. Don't draft us. And they drafted him anyway. And that's why he's holding the jersey like, what the fuck is happening? And that's why they were like, some people like crazily, wildly think like, oh, the Chargers won that trade or whatever, which is obviously insane. But you can't lose a trade when you trade a guy who refuses to play for you. So I guess in a sense they won that trade. But because, you can compare Eli's career to Phillip Rivers' career, but Eli was never going to have that career for the Chargers. So, yeah, I guess theoretically they won that trade. But a lot of people think the Chargers got a good deal, good value in that trade because they had the leverage of going, he wants to go play for you. He doesn't want to play for us. This is you're the team we're negotiating with. Here's your chance to get him.
Yeah.
Make us a great offer.
Yeah. Again, I wish I would see it play out more. I do. I don't know why more guys don't just go no. Like
because fan bases then go like, fuck that fucking, like there's that whole,
who cares?
yeah, no, I agree. But
Fan bases are so dumb. There's no derangement syndrome worse than NFL fans and their fan base. I say to my buddy all the time, he gets so mad. I go, you suffer from Bengals derangement syndrome. Oh, yeah, it's stupid. It's so stupid. No, you do. I tell him all the time. I go, you do. I have 33 years of evidence. You have a 2-year window where they won playoff games. No, you suffer. They're like, I'm like, what are you, 6? You suffer from Bengals derangement syndrome. What? No, you do. You pay thousands of dollars every year for tickets. You think everything is going to be different.
How about you give me half the money you were going to spend on tickets? I kick you in the nuts and we call it even.
Which, by the way, side note,
all-time great scene.
Justin wants to possibly make a pivot on our $100 Bengals bet. So the bet was $100 that the Bengals win the AFC North.
Okay. And that wager has already been made?
It's already been made. He's like, what if because they released, we're talking, there was the schedules and of course I looked at the Bengals schedule and I was like, yeah, you got a pretty tough window in these weeks or whatever.
He wants to pivot to one playoff win.
No, he wants to pivot to what if we went, and he's just throwing it out there. We didn't agree. What if we went $50 on win the division, $50 after he saw the schedule release? Vegas right now, Caesars has them 10.5 wins. And I say I would bet the under. I just said to him I would bet the under, and he goes, well, then why don't we split it? And I said, well, I'll be honest, I'm not as confident in that as I am the division.
Yeah.
Like, do I think they win 11 games? No.
I think they win 11 games.
You do. I don't. But I'm more confident that I don't think they win the division.
Well, yeah, that's a because they have, like, you can. If you bet on them if you bet against them to win the division, they can win 13 games and still lose the division.
Yeah.
So you're buying yourself so much more leeway.
I mean, it's going to be decided like they play. So like that's what a lot of people have been out. They play Baltimore late in the season, 2 out of 3 weeks, and one of them's on Thanksgiving.
Right.
At Baltimore. So I don't know. Yeah, like I'm not ready to just like throw that in. Because I'm like, I feel pretty good. Anyway, let's wrap it up here. The hotline, I think it still exists. I'm actually going to get a new one this week. I don't know.
The hotline may or may not exist.
310-359-8365. I haven't seen any new calls. I don't really fully understand it. You guys are idiots. So not listeners, you like Skype, Teams, whatever this is. You guys are idiots. Bye.
Bye forever.
Yeah.
At Joe Prano on all social media. Subscribe to us if you're listening to this free. Subscribe to us on Substack at Dirty Sports. Subscribe to at Joe Prano. Well, at Joe Prano on Substack. I've been going live. I said during the live I did on Wednesday that I'll probably pop on the live at some point tonight during this 2.5-hour nervous breakdown, maybe a halftime update from the pub or something like that. So make sure you subscribe to both of us on Substack so you don't miss any of that. If you're in the greater South Lake Tahoe area, I'll be doing a South Lake Tahoe Don't Tell comedy show tomorrow night, the 17th. You can come check that out or go to joeprano.com for more shows. Got some West Side Comedy Theater coming up. We got some, I got a show down at our friends Minimal Golf Club in Redondo coming up. So just go to joeprano.com for shows. And give me a follow on all the things.
Cool.
And have some Miller Lights while you watch the games this weekend.
Yeah.
Knicks game tonight. Mets Yankees all weekend. Have some golden 50th anniversary Millers.
Cool. Yeah. I am at Andy Ruther been trying to dive into this Diddy trial, breaking it down on the Andy Ruther show.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot. It's tough.
Charlotte's really into it too.
There's a lot. I'd be curious. We've had a lot of discussions here at home.
If you need a guest on the Andy Ruther show to talk Diddy trial with, yeah.
Well, she might be able to help me fill me in because I'm trying to follow. There's a lot, but Brittany and I had a whole discussion the other day of like, because of course she's following it too, and she's like, I don't know if he's like a sex trafficker though, and I was like, this from a woman's perspective that was interesting. After seeing Cassie's, she's like, is he trafficking? Like and that's kind of their pitch, which I'm like debating. I don't know if you know that, like that's the pitch of Diddy's defense. He's an awful, terrible human being.
Right.
He wasn't actually trafficking women. It's kind of it's like an interesting defense.
I just saw some weird TikTok that said like, I mean, it wasn't a weird TikTok. It was a TikTok about a weird claim that I guess came out in the trial that he like had like male sex workers working for him or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, that's.
And then they were jizzing on her, and then she was going into another room and wiping it on him.
Yeah, on his nipples.
That on his nipples.
This is a testimony in court from a male prostitute. This is not like hearsay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, he's insane. Like my analogy I said on my podcast yesterday was he nothing could like.
Somebody needs to redo the Dave Chappelle Diddy sketches.
Well, I brought that up,
and him being like, "I need you to go to Harlem and get you a bottle full of jizz."
He said, "Well, here's what I said on my show.
Pour it on a Junior's cheesecake."
Here's what I said at my show. I build the question, did Dave Chappelle know? Because if you watch Chappelle's show, he's saying things so outrageous. Go down to Brooklyn or whatever and get me, he says Cambodian breast milk, and he's drinking it. And you're like, now that I've seen things from the trial, you go, that's really not far off what Dave would do. What Diddy would do. I'm like, and I'm not saying Dave Chappelle knew anything or did he hear things. That's all I'm saying is he was having him do outlandish things on the show. And then you see the court testimony and you're like, oh,
yeah,
he's paying male prostitutes to pee in Cassie's mouth. He's doing X, Y, Z. And you're like, he's insane. I don't know how I had time for all of it. That's my thing too. He's running all these businesses. You got time for 12-hour, 24-hour orgies. Like, it's just like.
He's like, what's your day like today? He's like, well, today I gotta stop by the set of Making the Band and yell at them for a minute. Lunch, I'll probably have a prostitute pee in Cassie's mouth. Afternoon, I've got to pop into the studio and just go 40 times into a microphone so that they can use that for my next 26 artists. Don't stop.
But it was all orchestrated. That's the thing on these things. Like, he was picking out the outfits, it was all, he was so, my point is, again, with the time, it was so meticulously planned out. You're like, you just never slept. He was on drugs all the time, apparently.
Yeah.
No surprise. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Enjoy Tahoe. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. And as always, stay dirty.